Oh man, this is the first time I tried it out. Hey man, I'm here with my guy Kevin. Man, it's a pleasure to have you, man.
Man, I appreciate being here. Definitely looking forward to it. It's gonna be a good opportunity for both of us.
Yes, sir. Yeah, you're a real sharp, intellectual, wealthy man. And I'm not even just talking about financially, but you could tell. I was telling my boy Andres when we were walking up here, where I was like, man, like you could tell when someone's just doing the thing. So yeah, with that being said, like, how does it feel to be Kevin right now?
It's definitely a blessing. Definitely a blessing, man. Even though I say it, I try to do it as much as possible. I try to count my blessings more than my problems because, like they say, it could always be worse. So I look at my position. I try to look in the mirror and reflect and just be like, man, like it's a great feeling. You know, I'm a human. I go through stuff, but I'm in a position that a lot of people wish they could be in, whether it's good health and strength, financially, kids good, family good, healthy, like not struggling, could be a lot worse, hospital, all type of things. So definitely blessed to even just be sitting on this couch with you right now. So thank you.
Likewise. And I really love your story, man. And I think, that's definitely one thing I want to cover. Because like in a nutshell, I would say you went from not being wealthy to being wealthy, to helping others build wealth. And I think I was, like I said, I was telling my boy Andres, I was like, bro, you can do it, but if you're showing someone else how to do it, that's how you know you really got it.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So like I said, you've been through a lot of stuff, and I'm gonna throw a couple years at you, and you maybe hopefully you could talk a little bit about it, so kind of explain how it shaped you. But 2009, 2014, and 2022, those were all 3 years that really shaped your life, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Can you talk a little bit about like each year and like your transition from just like being that guy who used to work at a job to like now?
Yeah, most definitely. So 2009, definitely a tough year on a personal level. Let me see, at the time. So originally I'm from Louisiana. So I was out here. My mother was sick at the time. She was 49. And I was out here working. And I was actually supposed to go back home. And then she got really sick. And kind of to fast forward, she was like in and out of the hospital. She had cancer. She was in and out of the hospital. And then I also had my younger sister from my mom. We were taking care of her. And then August 1st, 2009, she had passed away. And at that time, I mean, that was, that's my mom, and we were close. I grew up like primarily with my pops. But then, I saw my mom plenty, so I don't want to say like I didn't have both parents in the home, because I definitely were with both of them enough. But yeah, after losing her, I went through a lot personally. I mean, I was angry, because some of the causes of her being sick had came from like my pop's side. My pop's, him and her didn't have the best relationship, and there were certain things that he did that I believe kind of caused her to be in the state that she was in as far as health wise. And so, to be honest, I was enraged. I had a lot of anger built up, and I'll be honest, like I wanted to find my pops and really just do something to him. And there was this girl that I was dating at the time. She told me, she was like, you know what, I want you to go to therapy. And I had never considered or even thought about therapy ever in my life before. And it was funny because the way her and I had met, like I said, I was working at a Trader Joe's at the time. And she had came in, and I had just, had got at her, and we were cool. And the way we connected was like she was going through a death from her grandmother had passed. And then soon after that, my mom had passed. So we kind of was going through it at the same time.
Right.
And she was like, you know what, you need to go to therapy. And she introduced me to her therapist, life changer. I had never been in therapy before. I still go to this day. Not as often, but I still go once or twice a month, just to stay sharp, continue to learn about myself. I mean, every day we're learning, right? Kids getting older, world getting crazier, constantly, evolving. So I want to stay sharp. But yeah, that helped me a lot. it wasn't easy. You know what I mean? Losing my mom, that was, you know, like my closest lady ever. So, and then fast forward, you said 2012, right?
Yeah, but before that, my bad, because I think I love that you brought up therapy because I'm all about it too. But I don't think, there's like I don't know, man. People are like, as soon as they hear the word therapy, they almost get scared. It's like, I don't want to deal with that. But was there a pushback from you in the beginning? Were you always open to it, or was it just like something you knew like it was gonna help you?
So I wasn't closed off to it, but my reaction wasn't like the typical reaction. Like a lot of people think that you need therapy because you're crazy.
Right.
You know what I mean? No,
right.
I honestly think any and everyone in this world can use therapy. You know what I mean? Like, so, and then on top of that, it was kind of easier for me to accept therapy just because someone that I was dealing with referred her to me and let me know like the pros of it because she had been through. So she shared her experiences. And so, like you said, a lot of people are closed off to therapy because they think that something has to be wrong with them. And I mean, we're human. There's always going to be something wrong with us. And there's also room for improvement. But then too, there's a lot of like pride, right? It's like, oh, I don't want nobody in my business. But then if your way isn't working, what's wrong with just trying something else? You know what I mean? And so for me, I was open. I was like like at my last straw. So I was very open. I felt calm about it. And like I said, it was a life changer. I mean, certain questions these are professionals, like a license, went to school, is what they do for a living. So she asked questions that I didn't know that she was going to ask. And any other, I wouldn't be surprised if I might have been like, oh, like where'd that come from? But when you process, like she was asking certain things, like I remember one of the first things she asked, she was like, why are you here? And I told her, I said, I lost my mom. I'm angry. I got a lot of rage pent up. Like I'm losing it. Like I need help. And she went all the way back to like my upbringing with my dad. And she was asking questions that I was like, first I was like, why would she ask that? But it all made sense as to why I do certain things, why I talk about XYZ or, certain habits or traits or character flaws that I may have. And it was just making so much. There was times, I broke down in therapy because, certain questions, they make you reach deep, you know what I mean? And they, as they say, they peel back those layers upon layers. And you're just like, dang, when was the last time I had to think about this? You know what I mean? Like think about all the problems that we run away from.
Right.
And we think we won't have to face it again. And then your therapist makes you face it. Because what are you going to do? Leave the session? No. You know what I'm saying? There's no refund. You paid to be here.
Yeah.
And yeah, man. So I was open. And I always encourage it. Every now and then I try to even put it on my social media. Like, yo, go to therapy. There's nothing. It's a life changer. It's a huge life changer, man.
Yeah. No, yeah, and I'm happy for you, man, for real. Because like I said, those years, the reason why I brought them up, they are heavy years. But do you believe they shaped you to be eventually like who Kevin is today?
Oh, most definitely. Because I know, death is like forever present, right? And so just to lose, my mom at such a young age, and I was 20. It was 9 days before my 21st birthday. And then just seeing, like I was there while she was suffering, like there was times where she had lost a lot of weight. And so like she was so frail and just small, like literally bones, to where, like I said, it was times I would try to hug my mom and she'd be in pain, just like touching her it would hurt. I had to carry her to the restroom. Me and my sister had to bathe her. It was crazy, man. And but just that, like that was on top of everything else I had dealt with in life even before then. Just that type of pain. I'm like, all right, I can't stop. You know what I mean? Like, because I was taking care of her financially since I was in like 10th, 11th grade.
Yeah.
So since then, and I think, when did I graduated high school? Like 06. So taking care of her from 04, 05, flying back and forth. Like she wasn't really getting any better. But she wasn't as bad as she was in 09. So again, watching her suffer, trying to help, do the best I could. I also got my own responsibilities and stuff to handle back home. I got a younger sister I'm taking care of. Like, made me stronger. It definitely made me just, for sure, not take life for granted. And then just the people, around me, So, yeah, I mean, like they say, with me being over them, as far as like taking care of them, like they say, with great power comes great responsibility. So I'm like, oh, shoot, I'm the man. My mom don't have a man taking care of her. My sister don't, so I got to take care of them both. And I was like, if not me, then who? So I might as well just do it. You know what I mean? So definitely has helped me for sure.
Yeah, damn. That's heavy, man. Salute. Like you said, man, at a very young, you said 10th, 11th grade, you were just that quote unquote man of the house type thing.
Yeah, I mean, I was back and forth a lot.
Okay.
A lot of stuff was going on with my pops, so I was like back and forth, coming to see my mom, stay here a few months, go to school here, and end up transferring. But definitely, like financially, I had to take care of her and my sister. And myself, I sort of started off young. So, but I had to do what I had to do, make sure they were straight. 'Cause like I said, if I didn't, I mean, at the time, like my mom, she hadn't worked. I know all my high school years, she wasn't working. She had went through some stuff in court with my pops. So she had lost her job and she was going around playing, she plays piano. So she was playing piano for like different churches, trying to make ends meet. But again, she got sick, so that slowed down, and it's up, to me. Yeah. So it would definitely help, though.
So before the wealth, who was Kevin like?
Before the wealth, still regular. I was, I dibbled and dabbled, and and then after that, like I said, I was regular. I still had, my job, still had my 9 to 5s. I was cool. Still have, did regular stuff. But yeah, I was always a regular guy. Like I always wanted to be a family man. Like even during those hustling times, I wasn't trying to be some big kingpin. I was like, man, this is how I got to do it right now. But I always wanted to be a family man. Like I listened to a lot of Jay-Z. So I was like, I want to be wealthy. I want to be an entrepreneur. I want to have, wife and kids and all that stuff. So I still had that dream. I just didn't know exactly how or what or how I was going to get there. I just didn't know the vehicle. Even in school, I got a vague degree. It was like business administration. Everybody had that degree. But I didn't know exactly what I was going to do. I definitely didn't want to work a 9 to 5 forever.
Yeah.
But I knew it was like, you know what, I might just have to for a while.
Part of the process has to be.
Yeah. So before I was regular guy. You know what I mean? Just chill, hang with my friends, play ball. It's regular.
Yeah. So was there like a certain pivot point that did something happen, or did you just realize like, yo, the time is now? Or like what was that pivot point that got you from being that guy that, like you said, man, kept in and out of jail, doing, all that stuff to eventually being who you are now? Was there like a pivot point?
So I would say 2012, 2013. Let me see. I think I got my Instagram, 2009 or 2010. And I used to just post pictures of shoes. You know what I mean? I just post my shoe pics.
Shoe game on 100.
Yeah, that's it. I used to post little sneaker pics. I was heavy into shoes back then. And then 2012 or 2013, I saw an opportunity to make money online. I don't know if you ever heard of it, but back in the day, it was a towing company. It was called MCA. A lot of, and basically, there was like a referral program. If you get people to buy into, it was like a $40 membership, then they pay you $80 for each referral. Okay. So, my friend, good friend of mine since then, his name is Elijah Barham from New York. He put me onto the online game, and he, he was doing 6 figures just off of that. Damn. But back then, Instagram wasn't as tight as it is now. Right. Like now, I think, for example, if you like more than 100, pictures in an hour, they flag you and like you can't post. Yeah. Back in the day when we first started, we used to manually do it. So we would literally pull up a hashtag, right? And remember back in the day, what was that? Workflow was like a popular hashtag. Yeah. So what we would do is we'd pull up that hashtag and we would just scroll double tap, and we would like thousands of pictures. But what that would do is it would bring people to our page right, and then see the value that we had to offer. And it's 50-50. They either follow you or they don't, right?
Damn, you guys caught that at a real young.
Yeah. There's a lot of people ask me like, how did you get so many followers? I'm like, I've been building this for like 10 years. So So yeah, I got into that, and I was like, dang, like I'm doing this from my phone. And so we went from there to multi-level marketing. So we were in companies where we still had to sell the products online.
Right.
Power of the internet is people all over the world.
Yeah.
And the products that we were selling, it could be a grocery membership, it could be discount travel, but it's people all over the internet that we were tapping into. So again, they come back to your page. It's something on there that they're like, oh, I could use this, or oh, I want that. And so I did that for like 3 or 4 years. But then I got burnt out. I got burnt out because there was a lot of recruiting.
Yeah.
And like I said, Instagram started tightening up on stuff. Because then at one point we had a bot. There was a bot that we could pay for, and it would like a certain amount of pictures or hashtag pictures, like per hour.
Yeah,
so we would pay for that.
All the time.
Yeah. So we leveraged that, and then again, IG started tightening up. Couldn't do that, and then like I just got burnt out. I'm like, man, I'm tired of recruiting. Like, it's too much, and the money wasn't lining up at one point. So, but I knew I wanted to continue. That's the thing too, is like I was surrounded by people that wanted to be entrepreneurs and running their own business. Because in a sense, that's what we were doing. Like I was in charge of my paycheck based off my work ethic, right? If I get a certain amount of sales, that's on me. You know what I mean? So we were entrepreneurs then too, and I knew I was like, okay. So I'm I'm learning how to work for myself, like legally, you know what I mean? So I'm like, okay, this is definitely something I want to do because I was in charge of my paycheck. I was in charge of my time. I didn't have to wake up, punch a clock, you know what I mean? And at one point I had left. I was at a 9 to 5. I think I was doing like phone sales at a Target, and I left eventually. And then the money started drying up. So I ended up, having to go back to work. But from then on, it wasn't just so much entrepreneurship, but making money from an electronic device, per se. You have traditional businesses that I could have gotten into, that I had thought about, but I'm like, man, just the convenience. Like I could be like you're right here in your studio, working right here and don't have to go anywhere. Like this is your workplace, or travel. You could be traveling doing it. I knew like, okay, I got to continue to make money from my laptop and my phone. So yeah, 2013, that's when it started. That's definitely when it started.
So how did you get introduced to trading?
So it's funny because during those MLM days, I had gotten introduced to like Forex trading.
Yeah, I heard of Forex.
And I was opposed to it off top just because, I saw the charts, I saw the lines, and I was like, man, nah, I'm cool off that.
Right, yeah.
I just didn't. And then at the time, there was like a company that people were a part of. It was an MLM company, and I think people were more known for recruiting. And I'm like, yo, who trades? And I was like, man, this is a bad look, so I left it alone. 2020, was it March? June 2020, a good friend of mine had tagged me in this guy's post. His name is Todd Capital. He put a lot of people on to trading in 2020. And so she tagged me in this post, and I was like, nah, I'm not trying to trade. Because again, even though it was stocks, the charts looked the same. It was graphs, it was bars, it was lines. I was like, nah, I don't want to. And she was like, well, how about this? Buy the course, sit on it, and you might change your mind later. So I was like, all right. So I remember I got it on a Friday because he had like a flash sale on a Friday. I got my son that weekend. I watched the course each night, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, while my son was asleep. That Monday, I placed my first trade. I had made like $900 that day, and then I knew from there it was a wrap. Yeah. So I was like, okay, I can do this. And then seeing other people's results, people that look like you and me, I'm like, these people making 500, 1,000, 20,000. I'm like, dang, like it's not unrealistic because they're doing it.
Right.
You know what I mean? So I'm like, this could be me. And I figured once I showed myself and proved to myself, like, yo, I can make money from doing this, then I'm like, all right, I'm gonna stick with this.
Yeah.
So yeah,
because maybe let's tap into what trading is in general. Because I know before I reached out to you or even knew about you, like I didn't know a thing. Like I know people trade stocks and make money off of it.
Yeah.
But essentially, it's you're kind of like calling plays, right? Or
yeah. So I mean,
like in a nutshell,
it's not the typical. Like when people hear stocks, they think about buy low, sell high. that's more long term where you're buying like shares. With stock options, which is what I do, you are essentially trading like contracts in a sense. And so basically you're trading for the stock that you're in, you're trading for it to go to a certain level. And there's different ways you can dissect it on a chart. You know what I mean? You're looking at the certain candlesticks or whatever case may be, and you're basically watching what it's doing. And you know, it's all telling you a story. It's all algorithmic. Nothing is coincidental. And the beauty of it is that with stock options, unlike shares, you can make money when the market is going up and when it's going down. And that's what I love about it, because like 2020, Trump was in office. I got in at a great lucky time, if you will, because again, a lot of people started in 2020 and the market was booming. It was just going straight up. Like I used to tell people, you can't pay me to even look at those charts because it was just that easy.
Damn.
And even like I started June 4th or June 5th, 2020 was my first trade. My second month, July 2020, I made 129,000, like my second month. But I also lost like 70K because again, it was my second month. So it was a lot of stuff that over the years I had to learn about myself and trading and the game and all that, but I didn't know. So I was making all type of rookie mistakes. But yeah, you can make money when the market is going on the incline, decline, you know, and it is hard. But I think the hard part is the psychological, you know, and I don't want to jump too far, and I don't know if you can ask questions, but it's more psychological. People see the charts and they're like, oh, it looks intimidating, but everything that's new, you know, I don't know how to ride a motorcycle, you know, but people had to learn how to ride a motorcycle. You know, you weren't doing the podcast forever. You had to put the pieces together. You know what I mean? You had to know, you know, which settings you needed on your device. Where should the mic be? Like, you had to learn it. You know what I mean? That's just life. So it does look intimidating. But like the saying goes, everything works when you do. So you just got to put in the work and the repetition.
So would you say, I mean, it became sustainable for you. So you would say like trading is sustainable as like being able to really build wealth?
Oh, most definitely. Most definitely. Yeah. It's funny. We were having a conversation like in my group earlier today, and we were talking about just like, you know, how much you would need to like say, okay, I'm ready to do this full time. And even though a lot of it is not just money, you definitely want to have some type of like nest. And I think when you put the time in and you learn, you know, how to trade, you know, properly, I mean, the upside is endless. You know, I've seen people make anywhere from a couple hundred to a few thousand to six figures, even seven figures. Like I've seen it happen in a day's time. You know what I mean? I've seen it happen within a couple of hours. And, you know, of course you're going to get hate, right? But it's always going to be deemed as hate when they're not doing it. You know what I mean? But like I've experienced it myself. Like I've had like 4 or 5 millionaires like come out of my group from 2020 till now. Young too, some in their 20s, you know what I mean? Some in their 30s. They just put in the work, you know what I mean? You know, one guy, he probably doesn't want me to say his name, but he started 2021 and went from 100. I'm sure he had issues. He went from $100 to 7 figures in 11 months or 9 months, one or two, but less than a year. You know what I mean? Some people don't see that in their whole life, but like I watched him do it. Like he would show me, like I watched him do it and I was like, dang, you know what I mean? So you just got to put the work in though. I'm not going to sit up here and be like, you can come in here and do that tomorrow. You know, where I am today, definitely I had to work up to this point. Like I said, my second month was great in trading, but I lost a lot of money along the way. I learned a lot of lessons, you know what I mean? But I mean, that's with anything you're trying to be successful at. You know, all those keys to success, that stuff, you gotta go through the motions. So, but it's definitely a great, you know, wealth builder. It's scalable, you know what I mean? But yeah, it's a blessing, like definitely life changer financially for me.
So for someone who's like on the edge of like, oh man, should I even be open to this thing? Like, is there like a tip you would give them to kind of like jumpstart them?
Try it. Try it. And I tell people, you know, prioritize delayed gratification. You know, that instant gratification is a hell of a drug. And social media has a terrible influence. You know, like, I know people see, I was talking about this earlier, I'm sure people see like, oh, he made 30K in a day. So they get in and they think they can put all the pieces to the puzzle together like in one day or 1 week and think, okay, cool, I'm about to wake up and it's to 30 or 50 or whatever. And it's like, I didn't start like this. You know what I mean? Like, I went through losing 10K. Not saying that everyone has to do that, but it's like, you know, you have to come into it and actually allow yourself, like, first tell yourself, listen, this might take me 6 months to a year just to be consistently profitable. I'm not even talking about this might take me 6 months to a year to make $1 million. Nah, like I say, fall in love with the process. Like, say, okay, within 6 months to a year, I'm going to have this down to where I can consistently make, say, $50 to $100 a day.
Right.
And I always tell people, like, can you pull out your phone, call 10 people that have a job, and ask them, outside of work, do you make an extra $100 a day on a small scale? A lot of times they'll say no because all they do is work. So I said to say, if you could do that, you'd be surprised at how that'll start to add up. Along the way, you're learning yourself. You're learning how patient you are. You know, how's your anxiety when you're in a trade? What's your emotions like? Do you know how to walk away? Do you know how to handle a loss? Like, you're learning so much about yourself, but it's only to get better. So to a newbie, I would say try it, allow time and prioritize, again, delayed gratification. Don't come in talking about or even thinking, you know, I'm trying to leave my job this Christmas. No. Because a lot of times we focus on the money.
Right.
And it's like, it's really the process. Like, if you get the process down, like, the money is going to come. You know what I mean? That's anything in basketball. Like, you can't just wake up and be like, yo, I need that $100 million contract. No, you got to show some game. You got to practice. You got to be in the gym. You got to do what you're supposed to do in the game. You got to be coachable. All of that stuff will get you there. You know what I mean? So same with trading. Like, you got to go through the motions. You got to put the time in. You got to, and this with anything in life too, is something you really want to be successful at. You do have to make those sacrifices that come off as selfish. Like, you know, I didn't go out with my friends a lot in 2020. Well, everything was closed down. But, you know, I wasn't out watching, you know, just regular extracurricular TV. You know what I mean? I'm on YouTube studying. If I got my son, you know, I'm spending time with him. And when he's knocked out, I'm on YouTube. I'm on my laptop. You got to do what you got to do. You know what I mean? And it'll pay off in the end. You know, at the end of the day, like, who's going to get you to where you got to go? It's on you, you know? So definitely try it, though.
Would you say, like, anyone on the spectrum can trade? Like, because, you know, I'm thinking of the family who can barely put food on their table, or, you know, someone who says, I don't have an extra $100, even though they might, you know, they move things around. So, but what would you say? Those people can actually, like, join the game too?
I wouldn't trade with my last. Or I tell you, don't trade with the funds that you need, because that's a different type of emotion right there.
Yeah.
You're thinking, like, if I blow this $100 or whatever it is they got left, how am I going to feed my son? You know what I mean? Like, I started this psychology trading masterclass in my group about a month or two ago. And it's strictly psychology. Like, I might bring out a chart or two, but it's like, I think people forget how much the psychological piece goes into this trading thing. And, like, one of the things we were talking about is, like, don't trade for no other reason other than price action on the chart. You can't be like, you know, oh man, I got to give my son these shoes by next week, so I got to make this money, or, you know, I owe child support, I got to make this, or, you know, I need my hair done. All right, like, you can't. That's all emotion right there,
right. And
that's what you're thinking about. So while those are distracting you from what's going on in front of your computer screen, it's gonna mess you up. And then what tends to happen is, like, you start losing money, right? So when you lose money, then now you're like, oh man, I gotta make it back. So, and then at that point, it's called revenge trading, because you like now you mad at the market. You're like, oh man, I just lost money, and I gotta make it back. It's like, I've been there, man. I lost money, and I feel like I have to make it back. It's like, not really. Like, you just trade a different day. You know what I mean? So people would need it with funds that they need or their last. If they were to invest in anything, just invest in education. Like, my group is super cheap, like, and affordable. I just think investing in education or going YouTube for free. And that's what I did. Like those nights where, I wasn't sleeping, I was up studying. I would just look up what I needed to know. If I needed to know something about a stock or how it moved or whatever question I had, just type it in YouTube. And I would invest in education. And then, when you have a decent savings, you know what I mean, then try it out. And you don't got to start off heavy. There's something called paper trading. So you could, you start with like fake funds, paper money, and develop your strategy for free. You're still not risking your own money, but you're using your mental capital and you're learning, you're developing, so that when it's time to put up the live funds, you know what you're doing because you've established that already. So, yeah.
No, yeah, I like that answer. I really do. Because you're basically saying like most of it, or at least psychology is fundamental in what you're doing in trading.
Like 80 to 90%. Yeah. The stuff it's like the stuff that people get intimidated by. That's easy actually. Like the chart and stuff, that's easy. If I tell you, hey Sam, this is what may happen on this chart. So this is when I would enter. This is when I would, like, okay, this is when Kev will enter. This is when I should. So that's like so self-explanatory. That's straightforward. But before you're about to do what you're about to do, during, after, like that's when like your emotions start to come about. You start thinking like, what if I lose? Like, it's a lot that goes on to it psychologically, and that's the hard part. When people say it's hard, that's the hard part.
So let's talk about the losses, because like you were talking about we can make a lot of money, but you can lose in this game too, right?
Yeah.
As far as I don't really want to. Oh, hold on. Let's pause real quick. Yeah. So let's talk about, like I said, not necessarily like a certain loss of amount of money, but just mentally. Have you ever gotten like kind of lost in the sauce of like, man, you really took that hit?
Oh yeah.
Like even just in your journey.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, well, even so, like I said, I started June 2020. There's something called earnings report. Every company, Best Buy, Nike, you name it, they have an earnings report where they report their quarterly earnings. And so it's something that you would get in, and then you would carry it either overnight. It's like a position that you would get in. And obviously, back in 2020, if the company beat their numbers, essentially the stock would go up. So when I first started, that was working, because it's a gamble, because you don't know what the company is going to come out with. It's all confidential info until it's released. I see. So you really didn't know. However, it was like a money maker. He was like, okay. In fact, FedEx. I think FedEx is what really got me. Like, it propelled me with my trading. Because like I said, I had made 900 that Monday. That Thursday, my first week, FedEx had reported earnings. And I think that was my first four-figure. I think I made like 3,000 that day. And I was like, oh, shoot. And then I think after that, Shopify had earnings. And I had made like $8,000. So I'm like, oh, shit, I'm almost at like 10K in a day. So it started opening up my eyes. So I was playing earnings, making money. But then the closer we got to election for Biden, stuff started to shift. Yeah. September, damn. I think I took my first big 5-figure loss. I traded, it was like UPS earnings or something like that. Again, before this, I'm like, I'm hitting on these earnings plays. They reported their quarterly earnings. I lost 11,000. And I was like, all right, that comes with it. I tried another company. I think I had tried Clorox, because the pandemic had came.
Right, so that makes sense, yeah.
Yeah. Lost, I think, 17K. Damn. I think I had lost another 5 figures soon after that. And that, it told me, it was like, I can't be playing these earnings, because it is a gamble. It's either you're going to make it or you're not. It can't really be calculated no matter what, because you don't know the info. You know what I mean? And I think at that point, stuff started to shift. Then when Biden got elected, I really had to put time into. I took 2 weeks off. October 2020, I took 2 weeks off because what I was doing wasn't working. It was working, but I was losing more than what I should have been. So I said, okay, I gotta chill and figure this out. I could have gave up. I was like, no, I'm just studying. So I took 2 weeks off, hopped on YouTube, just developed a better strategy. Actually learned, because remember I told you at one point I was like, you you can't pay me to look at these charts. And I wasn't.
Right.
But I needed to, but I didn't think I had to because, like I said, the market was going straight up. So then once I finally learned, like, okay, I got to read these charts, then I became more consistent, more profitable. And then soon after that, I had developed my group. But yeah, I definitely, I had a night, February 2021, man, that was my biggest loss to date. It was another like earnings play. It was Apple. Apple, I mean, probably one of the greatest companies of all time. Yeah. They were about to report, but you and probably a lot of other people knew when GameStop had their frenzy in the stock market, they literally flipped the market upside down. The market was bad this particular day. And I'm like, well, Apple is about to have their first, I think it was like either first 100 million or first $1 billion quarter. It was like, so I put a lot of money in. I think I put like 40 or 50,000 into this, and I was going for a home run.
Yeah.
And before the market closed, because you can't enter positions when the market closed. Before it closed, I started having a weird gut feeling. I was like, the market looks horrible right now. And even if they beat, I don't know if this is good. And so at that point, it wasn't calculated. It was like, I don't know, $2. So now I just said, F it. They reported, they went down. I grabbed the Don Julio. And I just knew it was like, I just lost 40K. You know, I had never lost that much in a day. I drank a lot. I was on live just talking a bunch of shit. And I think it hit me for like a day, you know. But it was a different kind of loss. It was kind of like I knew I shouldn't have. It wasn't like a bad trade that I was hoping would go right or like I missed something on it. It was like
just the way it happened. You were just like,
I was like, you know what? I knew I shouldn't have did that.
Yeah.
And I did. So I chalked it up a couple of days after, but
yeah,
it wasn't fun.
Nah, I bet. Yeah. And you know, like those are the trial and tribulations you were talking about earlier, right? It's like you got to go through those too. Because now you have a whole group of people that you're kind of mentoring, right?
Yeah.
That you're able to share these stories with, and people like me or just anyone that's trying to get into it, you know, at least you're kind of like opening them up a little bit or their eyes a little bit. Mm-hmm. So yeah, I know you talked about it briefly, but like, can we tap into that? Because like I said, I think it's really important for you to know something, but when you're able to teach it, man, that's when you're next level for real. So what was that process like creating that first Millionaire? Because I know you said he got it done within that 11 months. Would you just credit it all to him, or did you feel like you played a part into it?
So I think even just being in a group of like-minded people, right? Everyone's in my group to make money. Right. Everyone wants to make money. Some people may just want to make a little bit to pay bills. Some people want to be the next billionaire. They want to get their family out of poverty. They may just want to, travel more, whatever the case may be, but we're all here to make money. And so I think just being in that environment alone, it's like, okay, I'm in the right place because these people are here are trying to better their financial situations just like me. So I know even just the motivation alone, I'm sure there were stocks that I was in or we were in that the couple of millionaires that year were in as well. I'm sure we all learned from each other. Right. Him and a couple of my other friends to this day are still like friends. Like we text just about every day. In fact, if I can go into that, the group actually was not created by me. So my barber hit me one day. He was like, "Oh, you into trading?" I was like, "Yeah, I just started." I was like, "Oh, let me put you in my boy's group." And so his name is Mandon. Shout out to Mandon, also from the Bay Area. He was trading like a couple of years before 2020, before it got, popular, if that makes sense. And so, so I was in there, I was doing my thing. I was still building my social media platform. Cause at the time I was also an affiliate of the guy that put me on. He had courses for sale and, he had like an affiliate program. So I'm still building, I'm still selling his course to get people into trading. And then me and Mandon had a talk, and I was like, "Yo, like I think I could, take off with the group if you let me." And we talked, and he was like, "It's all up to you." So November, I released my first trading course, started promoting my group, and yeah, since then, I mean, I know we've touched like over like 11,000 people since then.
Yeah, that's a lot of people.
Yeah. So but yeah, I think I know just being in the group has had a huge help. Like I said, we're still trying to get better every day, even to this day. No, we're not perfect, you know.
And you added a psychology / mindset coach. What was like, right, to the team? What was like your whole purpose or just like idea with bringing that person along?
He was already in the group, but I just noticed like we have a question and answer section, and I just was paying attention to his answers, and a lot of it was just like the psychology piece, and I'm like, yeah, this is probably what he could specialize in because that piece goes unnoticed. Like that piece, I think people just forget about it. You know, they don't know how important it is. They think it's like a small thing that they can fix overnight, and it's not. You know what I mean? I tell people we're human. So because he kept helping these people, I was like, yo, he could be the one that specializes in this. That's why one of my psychology classes, he was featured on there because I'm like, people should hear from you. And he came out and gave us a great class where he was hitting on like the psychology and like his routine, his rules. You know, his name is Advent _ on IG, but he definitely a blessing to the group because, like I said, the most important piece I feel like he specializes in, you know, and I think it's important for any new, experienced, struggling, curious, you know, trader for sure.
You say you're from Louisiana? What is that, the state or the city?
That's state.
Okay, yeah.
New Orleans
is the city. Oh, yeah. What city are you from? New Orleans?
Yeah.
So you're a Saints fan?
Yes.
Oh man. The reason why I say that is New Orleans like a poverty city? Would you say, or?
Yeah, especially back then. A lot has changed, obviously, with gentrification and all that. But yeah, I mean, even coming up, you know, I have my stories. I wouldn't say that typical struggle story. But you know, like my dad, he it's funny because like my pops had money, you know what I mean? Like he did what he did. He had a lot of money. But we didn't see it. Like the kids didn't see it, you know. I don't know if he was trying to teach us a lesson. I don't know if he was selfish. I don't know, man. But it was always interesting because, you know, he was, you know, we had to wear the same pair of shoes the whole school year. Yeah. You know what I mean? My friends may have the Jordans and the NBA jerseys, and our clothes might have came from Walmart. And there's nothing wrong with clothes coming from Walmart. But again, as a kid, you want certain things. Right. And he was big on just giving us barely what
you got.
You know what I mean? Like, but then he had new motorcycles, the new car. Like when I was growing up, my pops had Camaros and Firebirds in front of the house. Like I didn't see him struggling. You know what I mean? So we didn't really, you know, me and my sister, we didn't understand like why do we got to eat the same pot of like beans and cabbage until it's gone. But then you coming in here with new food every other day. It was, you know, but mind you, we are having to endure this. Pops had a big 2-story crib, pool in the backyard, like. So we see the fruits of his labor on the outside, but we just, for whatever reason. So it's like, I don't want to, so that's what made me start doing my own thing. I was like, well, so it's stuff that I want. Right. And, you know, only way I'm going to get it is if I figure out a way to do it. You know what I mean? So, like I said, I didn't grow up struggling, you know what I'm saying, per se. But I also didn't get what I wanted, which was by his choice, if that makes sense. That makes sense. Yeah. You know what I mean?
No, yeah. And, you know, I love that you said that because, you know, there's that argument with, like, for example, Bronny, right? Like, oh, you know, he already has it made for him or, like, all this and that. And then there's a lot of people who hate on him just because his dad is LeBron. But I'm like, nah, bro, isn't that what we all want for our kids? You get what I'm saying? But even deeper than that, I believe, you know, like you said, in New Orleans, Richmond, or a lot of places in Oakland, you know, there's a lot of people who work for money, right? And I think I was talking a little bit about it off camera, but this is my thing. My thing is it becomes such a, like, you praise money so much, like the average individual we're from, that you just do all these things to get there, right? But that's the thing. You got there. So let me ask you, like, what is life like on that side now where it's like, man, you don't have to, like, keep being on survival mode, like struggling for that money. So did your whole view of life change like once you were able to get like financially free and started getting a little more comfortable in that sense?
Yeah, I mean, you know, because a lot of what I do is with and like for my kids and like my family, like, and so it just always brings me back to a time where either I didn't have the financial means to do something that I can do for them now, or even when I was a kid, I didn't have those opportunities. For example, like my kids, you know, going on vacation, you know what I mean? Like at one point, I didn't have the means to just do that. But then also, again, going further back, I didn't get to go on vacation like that when I was a kid. So like my oldest, you know, I took him, we went courtside a few months ago. We had went to Warrior games, but we sat where it was cheap and affordable, right? But now I'm at a place where a lot more is affordable for me. So just him being on the floor, just seeing him smile, like that makes me feel good because one, that's his dad. Like I was able to do that for him, and my dad didn't do that for me. And then two, financially, like I was like, I can spend 10 or 20K on some courtside tickets for me and my son. Wow. Like his mom, she was like, you spent that much? You know what I mean? You know, but at the same time, it's also in my head, I'm like, yeah, but we'll double that tomorrow.
Right, yeah.
You know, or it's not, again, it's not, it wasn't the money for me. You know what I mean? It's just like
the experience.
Yeah, it's the experience. It's just like, you know, if Mother's Day comes around or a birthday come around and she gets a $10,000 bag, I'm sure she's not looking at it like, oh my God, he spent that much. Like, you're not gonna take it back. You know what I mean? You're gonna take it. But I'm not looking at it like, man, it's a flex. I was able to get her. Like, yeah, I'm able to do it, but I'm like, look, if it makes you happy or if it feels good to obtain those things or to sit courtside, it's the experience for me.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like, so again, it's experience. It's not just the money. Like, it's a blessing to have the money because obviously you need that to do certain things. But just to experience those. I mean, I think I went to like 4 courtside games, 2 in the playoffs.
Damn.
You know what I mean? And
against the Kings?
Yeah, the Kings. And then, and the Lakers. I got to see LeBron. I did. I got to sit courtside.
Damn.
Watch LeBron.
What?
Yeah.
Courtside LeBron. Damn, that's a dream come true.
That was a big deal. That was definitely a big deal. But again, just to do that is like I didn't get to do this before. So again, I just try to reflect and be like, yo, life wasn't always like this. And then I also am grateful. I don't take it for granted because it could be ripped away from me. You know what I mean? And I'm not gonna just act like, you know, tomorrow it's gonna be just like it was. Like, nah, this could change in the blink of an eye. You know what I mean? So I tell my kids, I'm like, hey, we take a lot of pictures and we post them. I mean, we get a lot of stuff framed and like printed out because I'll be like, yo, these is memories. You know, that's at the game. That's at the park. I'm like, I tell my oldest that I took to the game, I'm like, hey, like I don't know about your friends, and I'm trying to flex on them, but like they might not ever get to do this.
Right.
I said, so keep that in mind. You know what I mean? Like stay grateful because that didn't have to happen. You know what I mean? So yeah, I try to stay as grateful as possible, man.
Yeah. So yeah, it just sounds like you're showing your kids another life through what you were able to build, which, like I said, is what we all want, right? Mm-hmm. I seen you post something. I'm pretty sure it was you, and it was before we even like set this up, and you just had me thinking, man. And it said something along the lines of like, yeah, when you pick up your kids from school, don't just ask them like, you know, how did your day go? You were like, nah, ask them a little bit more articulate questions. What's the mindset behind all that?
I think just getting their brains like thinking, and then again, I believe like so much stuff is like on the surface that I just can't subscribe to because I'm not that guy. Like I'll give you an example, right? And I'll go back to like, for example, at work, I'll be honest, when I was at work, I'm not the guy. I hate getting asked the same boring ass questions.
Right.
How's your weekend? Oh, it was good. It was good. Like I hate that. Or like, what are your plans for the weekend?
Nah,
or the one question I hate, how was work? It was the same as yesterday. Like work is work.
Yeah, for real.
It was the same. You know, I hate that. Like, so that's I hate regular small talk. So with my kids, you know, I try to ask them more in-depth questions to get them thinking. And then it helps build like their conversation skills too,
Right.
because it's like if I ask them how was school's good, like, all right, but if I ask them like, hey, what did so and so eat for lunch? Do they like it? My youngest, he's 4, about to be 5. He'll probably give me a whole story, be like, oh yeah, his best friend, you know, Teo ate pizza, but yesterday he didn't eat pizza because he didn't like it because it had this on it, and he just started, and it's like, cool. So you can have this conversation with anybody. So I really just try to get their, you know, brains flowing, and then sometime I'll, you know, again, going back to being like grateful, you know, sometime I might ask them like, you know, do you like your lunch menu? And then I'll be like, you know, we had to eat, and we'll just start. It can be fun.
Right.
There's lessons in certain stories.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like I'm trying to implement that with my kids' activities. My youngest just started karate. My oldest is playing football. So instead of saying, you know, how was practice? You know what I mean? How was the game? How was karate? Like, you know, I'm trying to ask, like, what was your favorite move?
Yeah.
Think you can do that on your brother? You know what I'm saying? And his eyes light up, and he starts telling me all these things that he can do. But it just get him talking, man, get him thinking.
Yeah, I just think it's so important because I have 2 younger siblings, and I can remember myself, like, you know, it's just so easy to be like, it's good. And then now you're in the car, and you're just like, don't ever talk about it, and don't ever, you know, get to like communicate, like you said, or even just connect with your own parents or whatever, you know?
Yeah, so. I mean, and that's, you know, I don't know if I'm jumping too far, but that's another thing is like that connection. I feel like, you know, that's another topic, but like the social media and the electronics, it gets in the way of like still building, because at the end of the day, as a parent, I'm still learning each day with my kids because they're getting older, they're developing. And then as kids, they're developing because I'm their dad. So they're learning me and my ways and stuff like that, just like I'm learning them. So we're constantly got to be evolving. So it's like, you know, I feel like you got to have that bond and that connection. You got to ask certain questions. There's too much going on in the world. You want to teach them as much as you can, but then allow them to be kids. Like, there's so many lines that we got to draw between, say, how much TV time do you get to how much time do you spend outside? What kind of conversations are we having? Are we talking about real life scenario versus the fun stuff you want to talk about at school? Like, that connection is got to be there, because the last thing I want is to leave my kids' lives in the hands of social media, TV, the radio. Like, it's a lot of BS, and I feel like, you know, you don't want to become like a product of, make that your environment and become a product of it.
Right.
You don't want that. You know what I mean? We can only control so much, right? Because the outside world doesn't exist. But if I can have as much control or input into, you know, their lives and stuff like that, and what they consume, like, that's what I would like to do. Because, I mean, it's different now, you know? People don't have the same values, the morals, the principles. Everything is lost. And I swear, I blame the damn internet.
Yeah, internet is scary. Yeah,
I blame it so much, man.
Yeah.
So, yeah, but I love the connection with my kids, man. I love being a dad, man. And that too, like being an entrepreneur. You know, I deal with different people. You know, different ethnicities, geographical locations, different emotions, personalities. I'm dealing with thousands of people from all over that deal with all type of stuff. And so that helps me as, you know, a person, a man, a business owner, a friend, associate, whatever you want to call it. And, you know, at some point you have to know when to take certain hats off, put certain ones on, how to intertwine, code switch, turn this off. Like, so again, even just being their parent, it's like, it's helping me. You know, it might be a conversation that I may have with someone about business and be like, oh man, maybe I'll ask my oldest, even though he's only 11, to see what he thinks, get his opinion. Like, it's a forever thing.
Yeah.
But yeah.
So it sounds like fatherhood is important to you.
Super. Yeah. No, I love being a dad. Love being a dad, for sure.
Yeah, man. You love to hear that, man, from someone, for real, like from someone coming where they come from, you know, like being a minority, saying I love to be a dad, bro, is major.
Yeah, no, it's important, man. Just, you know, not just having a kid, but really like being like in their life. You know what I mean? It's funny because last night, you know, I was looking at my young, he was asleep, and I was just looking out, and I was like, sometimes I just be like, dang, like, you know, that's mine. Like, it's my creation. You know, then too,
Came
you
out
know,
of my nuts.
exactly. It's funny. I tell her mom all the time, like, yo, he came from me. So without me, you wouldn't have had it. Nah, but yeah, man, it's a blessing. It's not the easiest thing in the world.
Yeah.
But it's a blessing nonetheless. You know what I mean? Like, I get my shot at, got to create a life. Now I got to help raise it to be, you know, the best they can be.
Yeah.
So it's a
I'm excited for your kids, bro. For real, because like, not only are you like just by being their fatherhood, but you're teaching them what I wanted to also talk about is financial literacy, right?
Yeah.
Because it's like, I think financial literacy is one of those things where like the quickest and the earliest you can learn it, the easier life will be, right? Because what is your opinion right now on like the whole, just as a whole, as a country, like where do you think our financial literacy is at? Like, do you think we know as much as we should?
Definitely not as much as we should. But I think it comes down to, well, one of the big things that I personally believe it comes down to are role models. I mean, think about it, like you said, like, I'm in this space, so I'm doing my best to be my kids, you know, role models, right? But I don't, and I'm not dissing anyone's dreams, but like, I don't really want my kids' role models to be the rappers, like athletes, I guess. Like, you know, if you want to, you know, pursue your dreams of being a ball player, like, that's cool. But like, again, our role models, think about it. When you and I were coming up, I don't know about you, like, my role models was Lil Wayne. I'm watching Big Timers, Cash Money. You know, that it's the entertainment. You know, it's the actors, the athletes.
Yeah,
you know what I mean. But when you think about it, remember I mentioned what we consume, right? So it's like, all right, if these rappers are talking about what sells, right? Because what sells? Sex and violence, sex, money, and violence, right?
And drugs.
Yeah. So, and drugs. Yeah. So they're like, okay, in order for me to have that car, I got to do what he's talking about, because he said that he hit a couple of licks and sold a few bricks and robbed, you know, this bank. Okay, because I got to get that to get what my role model has. Okay, cool. So then that's what you know what I'm saying. That's what I got to do. So again, if I'm not in that space and they don't see me doing that, I want to be the hero where it's like, okay, cool. So I probably need to learn a little bit of real estate. Okay, cool. I need to learn about taxes. Okay, cool. I should probably get an accountant, learn these stocks, whatever the case may be. Or on the flip side, even if they don't be an entrepreneur, I always tell my kids, like, if you work a job, it needs to be in like the top 4 highest paying industries: healthcare, tech, real estate, finance. Those are the top 4. So you pick one, because at the end of the day, money makes the world go around. So you still got to make money. Right. So I'm not saying you got to be this boss and be running this company and be making quadrillion dollars. You don't even have to do that, but do something that's going to be paying and taking care of your family. So I said to say again, role models, because all the people that are in the financial literacy space, their children are going to see, this is what my hero, my dad and mom and dad are doing. So, and that's the thing too, is like, I feel like we've lost a lot of the kids that want to be like their moms and dads. Like, you don't hear a lot of kids saying, I want to be a firefighter like my dad. I want to be a nurse like my mama. Like, we don't hear a lot of that. Yeah. So what happens is a young kid gets a hold of a cell phone on social media. So then you got, you know, no dish, but you got, you know, little Ray here, you know, rapping about guns at 15, and my kid may see it and be like, oh, shoot, he looks cool. He's got a chain. So that's what I want. And that's what he's consuming. Nah, I don't want that to be a role model. It's funny because the other day, you know, on Instagram, the way their algorithm is, it's like, it's certain stuff that you like, it'll start to pop up on your feed. And it was literally a 15-year-old, and I don't know his situation, but it's a 15-year-old rapper he was rapping, and I saw like tattoos on him, and I was like, are those fake? Like, this looks like a kid. I go to his page. Nah. 15-year-old, face tats, neck tat, ankle monitor, rapping. And what sucks is there's people that are bigging him up. Like, keep doing your thing. Oh, keep doing your thing because he getting money, right? Yeah. But then who's in his ear like, bro, I know you in this environment, blah, blah, blah. Like, you ain't got to be hitting licks. You ain't got to be selling drugs. You know what I mean? But again, who's his role model? Like, who's he looking up to? Who's in the house? again, everybody's got a different situation. Everyone's not doing big things in financial literacy. Everyone doesn't have the great paying job or whatever the case may be. And I get it. Some people just haven't made it out of the struggle. But if you got the opportunity, like at the end of the day, like we're supposed to make our kids better than us. Even if you don't have the means, at least try to like instill it in them, show them like, listen, I may not be making a whole lot of money from XYZ, but these people are, you should maybe learn this. Put something else in front of them. You know what I mean? So, again, like role models, I think is a huge deal. You know what I mean? Because we're going to hear stuff on the radio. My kids, listen, I listen to some NBA young boy. I listen to Boosie. You know what I mean? But those won't be my kids, you know, role models.
Yeah.
You know? So yeah, I think that's a huge deal.
So would that be like one of your solutions to educating? Because I guess if you want to change anything, it has to be from like the ground up, right? Or like the kids. So if, you know, with everything going on in America, like everyone being so illiterate, it would just be that, like showing these kids, showing people another way, or what would be like your solution?
Yeah, the only thing that I can do personally, I just try to spread the word as much as possible. You know, even in the industry that I'm in, I'm not trying to be better than anyone than myself, but one of my missions is to have the most success stories. You know what I mean? If I could create another 10, 20, 50 millionaires, that would be great. You know, if I could help someone say, you know what, I was able to, you know, when people would be like, you know, I was able to quit my job and my wife quit. We retired. We started a business. Like that's just what I'm aiming for, the success stories. You know, everyone else can have everything else. But if people are like, yo, I came from Kev's group and this is what I got out of it, like, and it could just be a season, right? Some people are not made to trade forever. But if they come out and just be like, you know what, I made $1,000 today, I was able to go on vacation with my kid.
Yeah.
Hey, I like that. So just spreading the word. I mean, because you gotta think too, like I said, I mean, like with the music, you gotta rap about what sells. Like I get it. I mean, think about the Nipseys. Yes, he might have talked about, you know, investing in some real estate, but he talked about his gangster stuff too. He has to. Right. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. Same with Larry June. Like I'm a huge, my oldest, we both love Larry June. And I know he mixes it up. He talks about what he talks about. You know what I'm saying? So I get it. But I don't know. The best way we can get it out there for our kids to see and hear and just put it in front of them, like, you know, I think that's a huge solution.
Yeah. No, I agree. And just to end it off, I really want to read this quote that I got from you that I think is super powerful, man. It says, I'm realizing that in today's society, we talk about our problems more than we talk about our joys. It's damn near an addiction. Yeah. And I think you talked about it in the beginning, but can you elaborate a little bit on it? Because I think it's so true, right? Like, yeah, we just gravitate towards the negativity when we can have 10 positives in this room, but you're not really going to realize it, right?
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it's like that little exercise. If you ask someone, you know, hey, tell me five negative things that happened to you, 5 negative things you're going through, they'll name them so fast. You ask them, you say, what's 5 positive things? It's going to take them a minute. But it's not because those things aren't happening. It's just, what do we be focused on? You know what I mean? Like, I believe there's like 2 ways to think about life, right? You think about it could be better, and then you say it could be worse, right? So like, I might hand you, right after this podcast, I might hand you $10,000. And you might be like, well, why you didn't give me 15? Well, I didn't have to give you the 10. You know what I mean? Yeah. But then you got some people that's like, dang, you didn't even have to give me this 10. Like, thank you. Because it could have been worse. I couldn't have gave you nothing. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. So, yeah, I mean, I really just think that, again, that's all programming, right? Like your habits, conditioning yourself to be more positive. You know what I mean? There's different ways that you can do it. You know, I mean, like we talked about earlier, like even therapy, like getting someone to help you think more about the positive that's going on and to be more, like I said, count your blessings, not your problems. Like sometimes we trip off stuff that's like, you know, so trivial, you know, so small, but yet wasn't you just complaining that the light bill was too high? So why are we worried about this when we need to figure out how to, you know what I mean? And then like I said, on the positive note, like I'm not saying settle for what we have, but don't take it for granted. If you got a good situation, whether it be a good job, you know, your lights are on, you got a roof over your head, know, his camera's working. You know what I'm saying? Like it ain't gotta work.
Right.
It could shut off. You know what I mean? Like anything can happen. So I think if we just prioritize this, just think about it, even if you set an alarm on your phone and say, okay, acknowledge 10 good things that happened today. Or acknowledge and you condition yourself to just do that.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like that's a good exercise, you know what I mean, in itself. Like that me time, make it positive. You know what I mean? And it's just programming, man. It's a lot of
it's important.
Programming.
Yeah, facts. Nah, man, we definitely did about. I was planning on doing like 45 minutes, but this is such a great organic conversation, bro. And I think you're just someone I could talk to for hours.
No,
bro.
Yeah. No, I like it, man. This is, like I said, this is stuff that fuels me. Like when I'm doing my psychology classes and stuff, it's like this level of passion just starts to come over me, because it's like I could talk about trading all day, but it's like when I start thinking about life and the stuff that we're trying to accomplish and how to get there and the stuff that we go through, is like it's a big deal, because again, I tell people where I'm at, I didn't start here.
Yeah.
We human, you know, we go through a lot of the same stuff, and I tell you, it's not just a money thing. Like my kids don't always listen to me. You know what I mean? I still hate paying for certain stuff. I still, you know, we about to go on vacation next week and we haven't even got there and I've already spent $9,000. And I'm just like, damn, $10,000. Like,
I feel
you know what I mean? Like it's just, I'm human, man. You know, I don't take it for granted, you know, but so yeah, man, it's just, you know, it's life, man. Like I said, life is always life, and it's just how we maneuver through it. Yeah.
No, we appreciate you for coming. I think this is the first. You're the first we even talked about finances or anything along the lines, but I think it's just super useful. You know, I think it's, like I said, I think, you know, we really didn't talk about it, but a lot of, you know, maybe you can agree with me, to get part of being wealthy is money management, you know? So it's like, there's a lot to it, but yeah, man, hopefully we can have you on, you know, in the near future, talk more about like your life experiences, man. I think they're very valuable. If anyone wants to join your group or, you know, kind of follow what you got going on, where can they reach out to you, or what's the process to that?
Oh yeah, you can just hit me on Instagram, CallMe100k, no underscores, no extra numbers, because unfortunately IG won't let me get verified. So there's like, I'm telling you now, there's like 100 plus fake pages out there. So
why won't they let you get verified? That's crazy.
I don't know.
Because there's people out there who like are
you
verified.
Can buy a badge.
Right.
And for whatever reason, like in my settings, it doesn't say that I'm eligible. So I don't know, man. It's annoying, but I keep going. Good. But yeah, CallMe100k. Call me 100k. Nothing extra. And yeah, you could either send me a message, my link in my bios to my course and my group. And I'm very responsive. Like I'm not just, you know, some people are surprised when I respond to them, and I'm like, well, if I can do it, I'll do it. Because you know, then you have people that'll keep messaging me, and they'll be like, man, I need you to get back to me. And it's like, yo, keep in mind, I got a lot of followers. Yeah, I got a huge group. I got a life off of this. Right. You know what I mean? Yeah, man. And then just one thing I would take too, like from this convo too, like you said, we talk about financial literacy and what it's done for me and others. And I think just in life, right, like one of my favorite quotes is, if nothing changes, then nothing changes. So it's kind of like, think about your situation, right? You could be, you know, think about people that say might be obese and they don't hit the gym until somebody in their family dies or is sick from high cholesterol or obesity, right? Then they like, oh shit, I guess I should go to the gym, right? Should have been went, but they wait till something drastic happens. Yeah. Or, you know, that's just one example. But it's just like, if there's something that you want to change in your life, just know like it's not going to change until something else changes, and don't wait until it's too late. So same with this financial literacy, it's like if you know you're in a situation and you want to better it, well, obviously doing what you're doing is not, if it's not bettering your situation, you got to change something, whether that's pick up a new skill, pick up a new hobby, start saving more money, cut out the weekends, the BS. Your kids don't need every pair of Jordans. Like, you know what I mean? So yeah, just that sticks with me, because it's like, it's so like straightforward. But then like when you think about it, it's like, damn, like if nothing changes, then nothing changes. Like, yeah, if it doesn't, then shit is just gonna be the same. So yeah, man.
Yeah, and change is scary sometimes, you know, because you do gotta like, go past like mental barriers and shit like that. So
it's a risk. Yeah. And it's not always comfortable.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But I mean, it's also can be necessary.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It can be necessary.
And I think when you do, most of the time when you do decide to change, on the other side, you're like, oh man, I'm glad I did it. Like
Yeah. I mean, like they say, sometimes the grass isn't greener, but I mean, when it is, though, it's a relief. It's a relief. But yeah, you gotta take that risk. I don't think anyone's mission was to stay the same. And when you do start making those changes, it's gonna come with a lot of BS. It's gonna come with the hate. It's gonna come from jealousy. It's gonna come with BS from the closest ones to you. Like, I've dealt with all of it. And probably another episode, but you just got to keep going, because at the end of the day, it's on you. That's how everything is on me. That's how I look at it.
Yeah. Accountability. Yes, sir. All right, man. Well, I appreciate you for coming. We appreciate you.
Yeah.
Yeah, man, I'm definitely going to tap in with more of your mindset, what you got going on. It just sounds like, you can't miss. So, I mean, you might miss, but you're going to learn something. You're going to profit. So I'm excited to learn and maybe even join the group. We'll